Guys, my name is Sensworld, and today we're going to be talking about reverb, using it on a bus and channel versus using it on your sends and returns. Now, reverb, as you guys know, is a very fundamental thing. A lot of you guys have been requesting mixing tutorials, and that's what we're going to be doing on the EOS channel. While you're here, please make sure to check out everything we have, all the music that we release, because I want to make this also a project where I can pretty much promote other artists with really good music, and hopefully you guys can check out all that stuff. All right, so let's get started. So reverb, the effect of reverb is pretty much imitating a sound being in a certain environment. If you've ever been in a church and you scream, there's a sort of reverb there. If you're in the bathroom and you sing, there's a natural reverb there, and so forth. So reverb plugins try to imitate that, and they have algorithms to pretty much do all that. So the reverb we're going to be using is the Valhalla vintage verb, and we're going to start with putting that vintage verb in our channel. Now, a channel and bus are going to be the same thing. Pretty much a bus is going to be me having two instances of Spire going through pretty much a channel. So when I do control and I click both of them, then I do control G, Ableton instantly makes a bus for you, which is the 19 group here. And as you can see, audio 2, and these have been changed to group, which goes here, and then this goes to the master. So me doing putting a reverb on the bus is pretty much just putting it here, but it's the same idea of putting it on a channel. So let's talk about that. So pretty much let's do this. So whenever you have a sound, and the sound we're going to be using is from Future House Sound Bank Spire, the Spire version, and it sounds like this. Whoops, too much. Without reverb. Okay, so pretty much when we have Spire, Spire has its own reverb, which I always remove, mainly because whenever I group and I layer, I don't want like 5 reverbs going off. So that's a tip you guys should take into consideration. Okay, so here we have the Valhalla vintage verb. Now, I have two options whenever I put a reverb. I can put it either on the channel or on a send and return track. Now, let's talk about the channel way first, and then we'll talk about sends and returns and explain what sends and returns are if you guys don't know. Pretty much, when you put a reverb in a channel or you put any type of effect, there is a way of routing your sound through there. So if you notice, if I put the like another signal analyzer here, you can see that it's after the reverb. If I put another effect, what is there, like the strip, there's another effect there, and so forth. So you guys can see my Spire is here, and what happens is the sound gets routed this way. So it comes out through Spire, it goes into the Valhalla vintage verb, into signal analyzer, and into the strip, and then it comes out through the pretty much channel. Okay, if I put the Valhalla here, then the Spire goes through signal analyzer to the strip, and then out the reverb, and so forth. So now putting my reverb on a channel is going to give me the effect of having the whole lead, and this is one of the pros of doing this, having the whole lead go through that reverb effect and coming out. So when you do this, you get pretty much the lead going through there, and you get this really nice sounding reverb, really beautiful, really trancey, that I like personally. And it sounds like this. Let me do it. Okay, so there you guys can see that effect. Now, when you do this, pretty much what's happening is you're pretty much gonna have your reverb here. Now, what are the cons of doing this, and why is there 2 options to this, which we'll get to now? The con of doing this is that when you apply a reverb here into this channel, or let's say bus, which is a bus full of leads, you're gonna have to apply reverbs through the bass and everything else. So you're gonna have a lot of reverbs going off, and if you're CPU limited, this can kind of cause some problems. Another thing is that you can't separate the lead away from the EQ. So when you EQ this bus here, you can't just say, I'm just going to EQ the reverb by itself. No, you're going to have to either EQ before the reverb or EQ the reverb and the lead together at the same time. So that's one of the cons of doing this. Now, pretty much the only pro thing is that you get that effect. So if you're looking for that effect, then obviously you're going to go this route. Now, let's talk about the other route, which is the route that's most recommended by a lot of mixing engineers, mastering engineers, and so forth. I don't really believe in it because I'm a sound designer and I love doing it this way, but it's a lot dirtier, and you really need to know what you're doing for this method. Now, for sends and returns, It's a tad bit different. Pretty much what a center return is pretty much a channel that you can put any effect in, and you route certain audios from your normal channels here to that pretty much track. Now usually what happens is when you route it there, you have a reverb that's pretty much the dry and wet is at 100%, so that when there's audio coming out of here, it's just going to be the reverb effect, not your whole lead and reverb. So the way it's going to sound like, if I do it, it sounds like this. Okay, so I did it soft, low, and high. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have separated the reverb away. So if I play something and I solo this channel, whoops, do it like this. Okay, there. You guys can see it's just the reverb. And if I maximize. So that's the reverb effect that's coming out. Now, the pros of doing this is obvious, pretty much, that you're going to only have about 4 reverbs, one for your leads, your drums, and so forth. Sometimes even 1 reverb if you want. The cons of doing this is, again, you don't get that effect of your lead going straight through the reverb and that nice kind of decay out of it. But this is much more cleaner and it saves a lot more CPU. Those are the pros. Other things you can do with it is you can do crazy things with it. You can EQ it, you can distort just the reverb itself if you want to get crazy, and pretty much it's like having another instrument that's just your fucking instrument, but all reverb the fuck out. So pretty much this method is a lot more cleaner because you can mix the reverb. If I wanted to, I could put a low pass on it so that no low frequencies of the reverb come out and so forth. Now, some plugins do offer EQs inside the plugin so that you can make it so that the reverb is in a certain frequency. As you guys can see here, dampening, that's a form of EQing the reverb, which you can kind of focus where you want the reverb to sound like, more like in the mids, lows, and highs. All right, guys, so pretty much that's going to be it. Hopefully that kind of helps you guys decide on reverbs. And if you didn't know about the send and return trick, I suggest you guys start doing it, especially if you have a slow computer. Now, here's a quick little few tips. Whenever you're pretty much working and you're layering stuff, one of the things you want to do is you always want to mute the reverbs on every individual lead, because if you think about it, if I have 4 instances of Spire and a layer of silent going, I pretty much have 4 reverbs going off at the same time. I have silent one's reverb going off. And let's say I get crazy and put a fucking reverb on the buzz, then there's another reverb, and you're going to have all these reverbs going off, and it's going to make your track sound really dirty. So remember to do the send and return trick if you please, or put your reverb, all your reverbs off, route them to a bus, and then put the reverb on there so that all the leads go through that reverb. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Evolution of Sounds YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys can subscribe. Make sure to hit like, comment, share our videos, like our Facebook page. Follow Samworld if you haven't followed me on the YouTube, and I'll see you guys next time.